Okay, so it took a good amount of effort to get my hands on these, but they're officially here, the iPhone 14 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. This is the year in which I feel as though Apple is really committed to better differentiating their Pro models from their non-Pro models through some minor design updates, but mainly through exclusive software features. And no doubt, there's a lot of interest in these two bad boys now that they've officially hit the market. Well, I've had hands-on with them for about 24 hours, and I want to give you all a hands-on first impression, so hit that like button and let's just jump right into it. Okay, first, let's talk about physical design. The iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max are extremely similar to last year's models, as they still maintain that glass-on-glass design, with the back panel being this nice frosted finish. I went with the new deep purple color for the 14 Pro Max and space black for the 14 Pro, and I think they both look stunning. Even though it's not new, I still love the way less reflective and way less fingerprint prone material that Apple uses, and it's still one of the cleanest, refined looks in the smartphone game today. Both phones still use the higher end stainless steel for their frames to integrate both panels together, and I feel as though there's better color matching this go around, which is a nice touch. Though it's impossible to notice, the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max are oh so slightly not as white as last year's models, but are a tad thicker. But again, you'd be hard pressed to actually notice any changes, and if you're familiar with the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, in the hand they're going to feel very familiar. Now, the camera hardware is beefier and does protrude out a bit more, no doubt because of the updated hardware that's being used inside, but it doesn't change the general aesthetic of the iPhone that we've all kind of grown accustomed to. But let's talk about the one design element that's truly noticeable on the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max, and that's the new display. Now, when it comes to dimensions, it's the same as last year, so you get a 6.1-inch edge-to-edge display on the regular 14 Pro and a massive 6.7-inch display on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. They're both still rocking Super Retina XDR OLED panels with slightly higher resolutions than last year, and dude, they both perform fantastic. Everything comes off razor sharp with bright saturated colors, and viewing HDR content is particularly nice. The displays also have a higher outdoor peak brightness of 2000 nits, which is great for those sunny days, and though this is the same as last year, one of my favorite features of the 14 Pro's display is Apple's ProMotion. Call me a snob, but I do feel as though Apple's implementation of a 120Hz variable refresh rate is the best, as navigating around the OS is so silky smooth it still continues to elevate the user experience by making it feel a lot more luxurious. But let's talk about the two features that really makes this unlike any other iPhone of the past, and let's start with the always-on display. Yes, it's finally here. Typical Apple, it only took years to accomplish, but much like its MO, they did a really good job with the execution here. So rather than just having a few parts of the lock screen like the time and the date show, the entire wallpaper goes dim, kind of like the newer Apple Watches, and when you tap to wake, you do get a nice fade in of the light that looks really nice. Now, the real question here is what this is going to do in terms of battery life, which has become one of the main reasons to go with the Pro model iPhone. It's too early to tell with the little time that I've had with these, but I will be putting them to the test, so more to come in my upcoming comprehensive review. Now, the other part of the display that definitely makes it stand out is the pill-shaped cutout. Apple was able to significantly reduce the size of Face ID and the front-facing camera hardware to finally get rid of the notch, and though I do appreciate a better screen-to-body ratio, I will say that it's still pretty in your face. It's not like a single hole-punch cutout that you almost don't pay attention to at all. It could be the oval shape that makes it more pronounced, but it definitely takes a little getting used to when looking at it on its own. Now, in order to mitigate the awkwardness, Apple did something from a design integration standpoint that I think is truly genius. It's called Dynamic Island. Yes, it's a horrible name, but what this feature does is essentially turn this area of the iPhone into the primary place where you're going to manage most of your notifications and multitasking. During Apple's keynote, this was the feature that kind of had my jaw on the floor because it has potential to significantly impact the user experience considering how much interaction you have with the Dynamic Island, and it's just so well integrated into the software. All the animations and subtle details that go into them are perfectly executed, and in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of when the Mac introduced the Genie effect when minimizing windows. It's a small thing, but so on brand with Apple, and this to me is a major differentiator for the Pro model iPhone, and I'm excited to see how it evolves over time. Now, no doubt one of the main reasons why Dynamic Island is so smooth and stutter-free is because of the iPhone 14 Pro's new processor, the A16 Bionic. Much like it does every year, Apple's newest in-house mobile chip comes in as arguably the most powerful in the market, and thing to note again from a differentiation standpoint, only the Pro models this year get the A16 Bionic. So the regular iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus come with last year's A15 Bionic, though with some modifications that Apple claims will give it better performance. Now, Now, it's hard to gauge performance gains with day-to-day use as Apple mobile processors work so well and last a long time, so things like opening apps and navigating around iOS is gonna look and feel the same as it has for a while, but where you're gonna start to see the punching power the A16 Bionic is with the new cameras. The main cameras for both the 14 Pro and the Pro Max have upgraded to a 48 megapixel sensor, which is larger than before and comes equipped with Apple's second generation sensor shift OIS. Yes, by default, the sensor works where it default downsamples the image to come out to 12 megapixels, but likely with more details than what you'd get off a standard 12 megapixel sensor, and so far the images coming out of the 14 Pro look stellar. One of the benefits of this larger sensor is that it can crop in digitally now to provide users with a pretty solid 2x zoom option that actually is quite handy in addition to the ultra wide and the 3x optical zoom. Apple did make some improvements to their already fine-tuned computational photography features, such as the addition of a photonic engine and deep fusion being used earlier on the photo process, and all of that is supported by the horsepower of the A16 Bionic, and the iPhone continues to be the phone that, in my opinion, has the most consistency when it comes to still image quality, and so far it's looking really good for the iPhone 14 Pro. Now, when it comes to video quality, Apple has been crushing the competition for a while now, and in my opinion, it still holds a considerable lead. You still get the incredible 4K video on both the front and back cameras at 24, 25, 30, and 60 frames per second, and the footage is exemplary. Some of the new features to come to the iPhone this year is a new cinematic stabilization that I haven't had a chance to properly test, but looks pretty amazing. I mean, the iPhone has always had some of the best internal stabilization, so I'm curious to see just how far it could push this new feature. The iPhone 14 Pro can now also use Apple's cinematic mode in 4K at up to 30 frames per second. This was a bit gimmicky when it first came out, but I am glad that we can now use this mode in 4K resolution, and I think it still performs well, but we'll have to wait and see if this change increases the frequency of its use. All in all, even though this is a pretty early first impression, the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max make a good case for being the best camera performer overall for 2022, which no doubt iPhone lovers are going to be really happy to see. Okay, so I know it's only been a short amount of time with the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max, but man, I'm impressed. I know Apple is often criticized, many times justifiably, that iPhones always feel the same and there isn't anything new. And though I could totally understand that argument, I think the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max are illustrative of how new the user experience could be, even when a lot of the core components around the phone have stayed the same. Apple is getting really good at keeping the things that they know matters to the consumer while making improvements to specific features in the user experience that are often subtle but make a strong impact in the day-to-day. Well, at least that's my first impression for the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max. It's quite the opposite for the regular iPhone 14. It's a whole different can of worms. I'm putting that review together, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on that. But let me know what you guys think. Are you guys gonna go Pro this year now with the longer list of exclusive features? Or are you still not impressed? Curious to get your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Okay, that's about it for this review. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you guys found it useful. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Check out these other reviews if you're looking for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.